Hi there, it's Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com here with January 21st spoilers. We've got some good ones today. The first one I want to talk about is Miletus Astronomer. Now this card feels a lot like the core Spirit Dancer. I don't think it'll be enough to really justify playing it in a modern deck. I mean, the core Spirit Dancer deck is pretty much complete, and white adds so much more than blue can add. And I don't think it's a deck you'd actually want to go 3 colors. I mean, you do have access to Invisible Stalker, which has hexproof and unblockable, but a lot of the enchantments basically make your creatures unblockable through either flying or trample or just plain protection from creatures. So I don't think the addition of blue in a hexproof deck for modern would actually be viable or even practical. So, but this is really cool for standard though. Anyway, let's just get on to explain what Miletus Astronomer does. It's a 2-mana cast, it's 1 colorless and a blue for a 1/3 human wizard with heroic that whenever you cast a spell that targets it, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in order. Now, this is actually quite relevant that it's enchantment, not quite aura. So you can actually get any one of those creature enchantments. You could even get like a Bident of Thassa. You can get a Assemble the Legions, let's say. I mean, any enchantment, doesn't matter what it is. You can grab it. So you can actually use cards like God's Willing or Mizium Skin to actually give your guy hexproof or protect your guy and still get card advantage out of him. Another cool thing is if it happens to be an aura and you actually cast it on Miletus Astronomer, you can basically go crazy with the auras. You can cantrip every one of your auras and hopefully get the Miletus Astronomer up very tough very quickly. I mean, Ethereal Armor hopefully will draw you another enchantment, which you can then put on Miletus Astronomer, and you can keep your hand pretty much supplied with tons of auras, because it is look at the top 3 as well. And so if you are playing a deck that runs about 25% auras, you have a good chance every time you cast the heroic. And then a lot of times if you're not doing just plain auras, you have other enchantments in that deck like Detention Spheres and whatnot that you can grab. And so pretty much you're pretty much almost guaranteed to find a card. I mean, it's statistically in your favor to actually find an enchantment. So I'm very excited about the card. I think it will see some standard play. There'll definitely be a nice little Johnny card to where people will brew around it, and I might have to give it a go. Typically, I'm not a big fan of aura decks because they tend to be the type of decks that do not interact with your opponent. You just cast a bunch of auras on a bunch of hexproof guys and swing in, and you could care less what your opponent does. But Miletus Astronomer, actually, since it doesn't have hexproof, I think you do have to at least put answers in your deck. Like I said, like God's Willing, Mizium Skin type thing. And you will actually have to interact with your opponent. So anyway, let's go on to the next card, which is going to be the Hunter's Prowess. Now this is a pretty cool card. It's a 4 and a green. It's a sorcery speed, and the sorcery speed is very relevant. It is a rare, which is kind of interesting. They made this a rare. It feels really uncommon to me. Until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. The good thing about this is it gets +3/+3, so you get a giant growth out of it, and then it deals cards equal to the damage it deals, combat damage to a player, and then trample. So if they chump block it, the trample damage still gets through. So even if you put this on a 1/1 and the board is clear, you're going to be drawing 4 cards and doing 4 damage. That's not bad. The only problem I have with it is, again, it's sorcery speed, so you have to use it very carefully. You cannot use this card when your opponent has any mana open or any way to actually interact with you. I do like this maybe as a one-of. In the past, I have liked Enlarge for the heroic decks as my one of like huge spell that I cast on a heroic creature, especially the double striking heroic guy why can't I think of the name here? Anyway, the 3 mana cast 2/2 double striker heroic +1/+1 counter guy. This would work really well on it because it would get +3/+3 +1/+1 counter. It would be a 6/6 trample, and it has double strike, and you'd basically just, if you didn't outright just kill your opponent right there, which is usually what you're trying to do on turn 4, you'd at least be able to fill back up your hand. So looking forward to actually brewing with Hunter's Prowess. I don't think this is going to be played a lot of in standard, if it actually will even make the cut. Again, it won't be a tier 1 type deck. I highly doubt it. But this is going to be a limited bomb, and it's going to be a fun card to brew around. And here at Roguedeckbuilder, that is the the entire premise is I like cards that are very flavorful and very fun to brew around. And so far, these 2 cards that we spoiled today have been very, very fun to brew around. Now let's go last but not least. It's definitely the one that I want to talk about the most is Oracle of Bones. This is another Minotaur. So wow, oh wow, do we have enough Minotaurs to make a tribe? And it's another double red casting cost Minotaur. In fact, it's 2 and 2 red. It is a haster, a 3/1 haster, and a Minotaur Shaman, so it's got the Shaman. Who knows if that will actually be playable in like a Shaman brew in Modern, probably too expensive. But anyway, it has Tribute 2, which means your opponent has the option to either not tribute it or put two 1/1 counters on it. And so it'd be a 5/3 haster if they decided to tribute it. But if they don't tribute it, you have the option, if the tribute cost was not paid, you can cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. All right, this is probably my favorite card spoiled out of Theros right now. Not from power level, just from the flavor of this card, just what it can do. It puts your opponent in like this. One thing I like about Magic the Gathering is, and this is one of the reasons why I like to play creature-based decks with a bunch of spells like, you know, like Gore-Clan Rampager and Giant Growth and Combat Tricks and whatnot, is you can get your opponent to overthink. There's been so many times that I've swung in with a bear into like a 3/3, like just a 2/2 bear. It's, you know, it's not going to do much for me on my side of the board, and I've swung in with it and, you know, kind of fiddled with my mana, kind of shuffled my cards around in my hand to make my opponent feel like I have something in my hand that would be detrimental for him to block, and then they just let that 2 damage go through. This Oracle of the Bones feels the same way. It's like, ooh, do you want to risk that I have this amazing card in my hand? This, what would it be? Not quite an Omniscience, but like even like Enter the Infinite you could cast for free. Or if you get into Modern and Legacy, there's some way amazing cards like Show and Tell even, or Cruel Ultimatum. There'd be a good one. Or Sorin's Thirst. You have a Sorin's Thirst just hanging out in your hand. It's like, do you want to pay tribute or not? And then, you know, in an aggro red deck, right now it would be like maybe you'd get a free casting Lightning Strike, or I mean, you could even, if this is in a white deck, it'd be even like a War Leader's Helix wouldn't be too bad. But I'm thinking that this might actually make some of the more higher casting cost cards. I mean, in a blue deck, I'm already thinking about like Thoughtcast, isn't it? Thoughtcast, or you know, some of those way high expensive draw card spells. Or what's the one where you draw a card and then discard a card and deal damage? You draw 4 cards and discard a card, and then you deal damage equal to the converted mana cost. I mean, there's a ton of those higher mana casting cost Dragon's Maze cards that this would actually might work well with Oracle of Bones if they decide not to tribute it. But then again, it's just one of those cards that makes your opponent think, do I take a Lava Axe to the face for free, you know, and then just maybe just die the damage there? Or do I make this guy a 5/3 haster for 4? And that's not bad at all. 4 mana 5/3 haster. But then again, there probably is just better cards for that mana slot. It is the same mana slot as Fanatic of Mogus, which is a 4/2 that you know what it's going to do when you play it on board. And even though it doesn't have haste, it might actually end up getting in for more damage. Same mana casting cost of Chandra the Pyromaster, which will eventually get you card advantage. So I think that might actually keep it down from being standard playable, but I'm definitely liking the ability to brew with this card, as, you know, a 5/3 haster is not bad. And just for that game where the opponent decides not to tribute it, where I get this incredibly amazing sorcery instant for free, I just can't wait to see my opponent's the look on my opponent's face. And then subsequent games, you can just make them second guess everything. So loving this card a lot. Oracle of Bones, it is a rare, and it will be a very, very powerful card in Limited as well. So hoping to pick up a few of these in my pre-release. So anyway, let me know what you think about these 3 cards spoiled. There were some other cards spoiled, but they were just comments, and they were very, very vanilla. So I'm not even going to talk about them. We've had some pretty good spoiled cards now. So far, Born of the Gods seems to be a very, very flavorful set. Power level actually seems to be pretty good, especially in the uncommon range. So far, not many mythics that I'm too crazy about. I mean, I do like the gods. There's been a lot of complaints on the internet about how horrible the gods are. I disagree. People didn't give Devotion, the monocolor Devotion gods, the credit they deserved when they were spoiled. They were either overblown like Perforos or completely underblown like Thassa, and now we see the actual power of Thassa is just incredible. And even Nylea and Erebos are starting to pick up in standard play as well. So anyway, let me know what you think about these cards. This has been Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.